Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Doing okay. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Been pretty busy. I'm back to work now after the holiday and everything.
Yeah. That long weekend was not long enough.
It never is.
Nope.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of video games on Steam during the Steam sale, so I'm trying to, because here's the thing, I always buy games and I never play them.
Right.
So I'm trying really hard to actually play these ones. So I bought like some big AAA games and I'm trying to at least put, some amount of time into each of them so I get my money's worth.
Sure. Yeah. A certain amount of hours,
Sure. Have you been streaming anything good lately?
Haven't streamed a lot because of the holiday, but Steve and I have been playing WoW and
yeah. I saw you were playing it. I didn't realize if you were I wasn't sure if you were streaming it or not.
No. Well, I mean, like, it's just sometimes a couple times I've streamed it.
How is WoW nowadays?
I mean, it's WoW. like it's vastly it's a lot different than it was, when you played it.
I don't know. I was just curious how World of Warcraft is going. It has so much D&D DNA. So, I figured
right, yeah.
Figured it was worth catching up on, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't really have much else to banter about, I guess. You want to jump into this episode?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So I want you to imagine that we've already kind of done one like this before, but I'll just do an easy one. So you're heading to your favorite tattoo parlor.
Getting another tattoo. Okay.
You're getting another tattoo, and you get there, and you forgot what it was called, and you look up at the sign, and you know what it's called, Jeff?
What is it called, Gabe?
It's called the Dragon's Horde.
Oh, of course.
Anyway, so today's magic item was submitted by Sean M. via Facebook, and the item is Victor's Kukri. So a Kukri is it's a weapon. It's kind of like a dagger in 5th edition. I'm pretty sure it's just the same stats as a dagger, but in earlier editions, it was a dagger that had a better critical threat range. Because it's a dagger that sort of like has a bend halfway through,
right?
So that the inner edge of the blade is like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
So anyway, this blade belonged to the legendary sadomasochist mercenary Victor Zaz. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Zaz.
Victor is renowned for his torturous slashing of his prey, and more so the pride he takes in displaying his kill count. After an encounter where the attuned bearer kills a living humanoid with this blade, they may carve a tally mark into their own skin for each kill. The bearer of this blade loses 1 max hit point for each tally.
Whoa.
Whenever the bearer achieves a set of 5 tallies, they may take a short or long rest to gain 5 + 1 max hit points.
Oh.
So this is, it's pretty simple, and it's pretty, I mean, it's powerful, but like the actual effect it has is pretty small. But what it does is, like I said, when you kill a humanoid, you lose 1 max hit point. However, if you do it 5 times, you end up gaining, you get a net positive of 1 max hit point.
Oh, wow.
So I thought this was really interesting because there aren't really mechanics for gaining hit points that aren't level based.
Yeah, or temporary.
Or temporary, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Sure, somebody could find a way to game the system and, like really exploit this and just go on a killing spree or whatever and gain a whole bunch of or gain a bunch of permanent hit points.
Right.
But, I mean, hey, if that works into the campaign, I don't necessarily see a problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you gotta be, it's like 1 every 5 kills. And so that's like, you gotta kill 50 people to get an extra 10 hit points.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you do have less hit points for the time between when you kill 1 and when you kill 5.
Right, yeah. Although I think like once you've killed 25, then it doesn't really matter. You're already, 5.
You're already at a net positive still. That's true.
But I mean, so yeah, this could obviously be easily exploited, except for the fact that there is a DM, and they could be like, okay, you're going around on a killing spree. People have taken notice, and since you're carving it into your skin, people know it's you.
Yeah, if this were like a video game, this would be the most OP item ever.
Right, you just go around like, oh, yeah, you just got to go to that one house. There's 5 NPCs in there, and they respawn every day. So you just go in there once a day, kill them, get a free hit point.
So just go to this orphanage.
Yeah. Oh God.
The hospital here has an ICU full of premature babies.
But no, Gabe.
But what you don't realize is that hospital is where all of the sorcerers have their babies. So you walk in there and all of their powers start to manifest.
Oh no!
And blow you up. I might remove this part from the episode. We'll see.
Baby explosions.
Yep. I think Sean said that this was a reference to something in Batman. Let me actually do a quick Google search.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Victor Zsasz is a Batman character.
Okay. I thought that, there was like a little spark in the back of my head that was like, this is kind of familiar, but...
Oh, shoot. You should put that spark out. It might catch fire.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a picture, and it's basically just a shirtless guy with a knife that he's cutting a whole bunch of tally marks into his skin.
Oh, you know what? He was in. He was like one of the side quest villains in the last Arkham game.
Oh, okay. Arkham
Knight. Yeah.
Okay.
He was actually one of the more fun side quests because it was like you were just kind of like finding his victims and like and like slowly figuring out where he was.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, wherever it came from, it's a cool idea for an item in D&D, and it does something that, like I said, doesn't really have an analog elsewhere in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it. I just think it's really cool, and it definitely would be an interesting thing to put into a campaign and see what the players do with it, whether scrupulously or inscrupulously.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, once again, that was Victor's Kukri, submitted by Sean M via Facebook. So thank you very much, Sean M. That'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard. If anybody else wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Hoard, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre or retirement village, Jeff, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com, or they can join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we have a giveaway to give away today. Mm-hmm. As usual, we're giving away a copy of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2, courtesy of Crit Academy. It's a great collection of 25 character concepts, 25 encounter concepts, monster variants, magic items, player tips, and DM tips. Tons of stuff for players, tons of stuff for DMs, lots of cool ideas that you can use in your campaign. So it's a great product, and it's awesome that Crit Academy is letting us give away copies of this to our listeners. So, Jeff, who is the winner of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2 today?
Today's winner is Wilmer P.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Wilmer P. You should be getting that in your email in the next few days. If you don't, be sure to let us know. And once you do get it, please leave Crit Academy a review. The more reviews they get, whether positive or negative, hopefully positive, the more reviews they get, they can make better products, and then they will get more attention, and it's good for everybody. So please leave them a review.
Yeah.
Big thank you to Crit Academy for facilitating this. Good job, Wilmer. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to be like Wilmer P. and they wanted to win a free copy of this great supplement, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2 in the subject line.
Yes, be sure to put Volume 2 in there. Next up, I want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for helping make the show happen. Patreon is an online platform. You can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. If you head to patreon.com/interpartyconflict, you can check out the various rewards we've got on there. We've got outtakes. We've got a monthly bonus podcast called InterPatronConflict. We've got a monthly Roll20 game, at least for the time being. Around the time this episode goes out, I think I'm going to try to have the game be, I think, the following week. So by the time this goes out, hopefully I will have already nailed down what day we're going to be doing it. So,
cool.
So stay tuned. So yeah, if you want to help out the show and get some cool stuff in return, you can head to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Check out the rewards and see what appeals to you. You can help out the show and get some cool rewards and, know that you're making the world a better place, I guess.
Sure.
Big thank you to everybody who has continued to donate to us. We know that times are tough right now. If anybody has to cancel or reduce their pledge, we understand. But big thank you to everybody who has continued to support us during these times. And then just one more quick thing. Check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Austin make new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Also check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They're an actual play podcast. And check out D&D Character Lab, where Garen and Dan made characters every week and pitted them against each other to debate whose characters were better. Enough of all that. Let's get into some questions, Jeff.
Our first question comes from Joe S. on Discord, and they ask, what single classes can make an entire 5-person party?
Yeah. So like if you were to make a party that is entirely this, everybody is the same class, assuming you can have different archetypes, different specializations.
Sure.
What are some classes that come to mind for you? And I would even say, let's be a little loose with this. Like, I'm more interested in what would make an interesting campaign, even if the party is lacking in some ways.
Right.
What are some cool ideas that you could do
Sure.
with this?
Well, okay, so thinking of 5th edition D&D, I mean they've added a decent amount of like extra like specializations that you can do in different classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think originally there was like maybe 2 or 3 for most classes, and then like a couple had like, I think Wizard had like, all the different schools of magic.
Yeah, Wizard and Cleric were have a lot more options than everybody else.
Yeah, because there was the domains for Cleric and the schools for Wizard. Yeah. So obviously domains and schools, that's an easy one. Like, so you can have somebody who's an abjurer and somebody who is a divination specialist and somebody who does evocation. So you got like a damage dealer, somebody who's going to be more defensive, somebody who's going to be more they're going to be more inquisitive, and then you got enchanter and illusionists maybe, like there's a lot you can do with Wizard.
Yeah.
So like as far as like making the campaign exciting and cool, like a lot of people have done this sort of thing where it's like you are like a team of wizards, or like you're at a wizard school or something, you do like a Harry Potter situation.
Sure.
So like I feel like that's an easy one, but like now with all the books that have added more options for the other classes, I'm sure we could come up with something.
Yeah. Like even just keeping with Wizard, I know that the Blade Singer adds some sort of like melee ability to a wizard. And I know that it's a high-ish level spell. Tensor's Transformation kind of for a short period of time lets a wizard, tank and deal melee damage pretty well.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, well, just with being able to cast so many different spells, that's...
Yeah, I do like the idea of an all-wizard party.
Yeah.
We've mentioned, I'm sure we've mentioned several times on the show,
right.
But there was one point in 3rd edition, we were making Gestalt characters, and all 4 of us completely independently showed up with each of our characters was half specialist wizard.
Right.
And we all chose a different specialization, which I thought was neat.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like artificer transmutation or something.
Yeah, you were artificer transmuter. I was a cleric necromancer. Steve was a beguiler enchanter. And shoot, what was Jay? I feel like every time we've brought this up, I've struggled to remember what Jay was. Maybe Jay was the beguiler. Who
was DMing, or we were just making characters?
We were just making characters.
Yeah, because I mean, like I think the Gestalt rules were new at the time, and so we were like, let's do that. So like make 5 Gestalt characters so everybody can be the same class and then whatever else.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know what Gestalt is, there might be an Unearthed Arcana version of it in 5th edition, but in 3rd edition it was an optional rule. It was in the Unearthed Arcana book in 3.5 that the whole thing is you choose 2 classes and you basically gain all of the class abilities of both. And then whenever it's something like hit points, you take the better of the 2. Mm-hmm. Hit points or base attack, you take the better of the 2. And it was explicitly way more powerful than regular characters.
Right.
So it wasn't meant to be alongside a normal character.
Yeah.
But if you were running a campaign where, let's say, there were only 2 players, you could still cover all of the bases, even though you've only got 2 characters.
Right. Yeah. Could be, for a campaign with not as many people, or just a purposely hard campaign.
Yes.
Let's see, a team of rogues. Rogue is actually pretty diverse in 5th edition. I want to say, like, there's a few, like, you got your arcane trickster, you got assassin, and there's like the scout, and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. But there's there's a lot of good rogue choices, and I feel like
yes.
Rogue is like adaptable enough just on its own. I feel like. Because like you can depending on where you put your stats and everything, like you can be a pretty like good in melee, or you can be a really good ranged character, or you can be more utility, or like with the and then with the arcane trickster you can have a good amount of spells.
Sure, and then just by its own nature, the rogue is kind of designed to avoid the types of situations they're not good at.
Right.
So if you do have a party of all rogues, and then, oh no, there's a thing that there's like a big melee enemy over there, or something that we would need a lot of healing, just sneak around it, or, impersonate somebody else. I don't know. They have lots of tricks at their disposal that let them avoid situations like that.
Wasn't there was something we discussed a long time ago. No idea what episode, no idea what the question was, but I feel like we came up with, I think I was speaking the praises of the Bard class.
Well, so the thing is, I feel like Bard is the easy answer to this.
Yeah.
In 5th edition specifically, they are so good, and they've only gotten more options as more books have come out.
Yeah.
You could absolutely do that. That's the cheap answer for this question.
Right. Yeah. Especially because like if everybody has bardic inspiration, there's no role that you're not going to have inspiration, that you're not going to have the extra die for. Like everybody's going to be giving everybody else inspiration, and so you're just like, all right, everyone's covered. We're always going to be rolling an extra D12 or something. Yeah. I don't remember what the max is. I think maybe it's only an 8, but
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like with Bard, you could take the College of Swords. It makes you better at melee.
Mm-hmm.
College of Whispers makes you more like a rogue. Bards are already arguably one of the best healers in 5th edition, mainly due to their ability to negate attacks before they happen.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best support class, and then they're also just like good.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's not that I didn't realize Bards were good. Like I kind of wasn't really hurrying to get to Bards because everybody knew the answer is going to be Bard.
Right, yeah. But I remember us, I feel like I remember us specifically talking about a party of all bards, like long time ago.
And I would love if they each played a different instrument.
Yeah, it'd be a band. Oh, we should start a band.
Yep, when we were doing the Ring of the Grammarian, 150 episodes ago or whatever.
Oh, Ring of Grammarian, good band name.
Well, the Mage Band was one of the spells that that came up in that. So yeah, you got a Mage Band right here.
A Mage Band, yeah.
And then if each of their like weapons was their instrument, so like the I don't know, the guy with the sitar or something that's like he's got like a spear on the end of it.
Sure.
So he can stab people from far away. The violin is actually a bow and arrow, so he can fire. He's got a whole bunch of, I guess they're called bows.
Right.
Holding it, you can just fire those off.
His bow is
is an arrow.
His bow is an arrow, and his violin is a bow.
Yep.
Oh gosh,
that's pretty good. And then if the violin was shaped like an arrow.
Oh gosh, stop it.
That would just be perfect. Sorry.
Yeah, drums could be like a hammer or something,
I suppose, yeah. I was trying to think of what drums could be.
Just bashing people with a drum.
Yeah.
You'd beat them like a drum with a drum.
Back in 4th edition, I remember I'm a huge fan of the 4th edition fighter. I think it's like one of my favorite translations of a concept in any version of D&D.
Sure.
And I remember when I first got into 4th edition, I was reading a story. Somebody was saying that they made a party that was entirely fighters, and with different multi-classes, because multi-classing worked differently in that edition. It was kind of, multi-classing was kind of like the archetypes that we have now. You would take a feat and then you would get specific abilities from a different class, but you were still your main class. You weren't, a fighter cleric was not both a fighter and a cleric. It was a fighter with a couple cleric abilities. But if you were to specialize them in different classes, the 4th edition fighter was such a solid class on its own that if you could get some healing in there, if you could get some stealth in there, if you could get a little bit of ranged ability in there, it really would have been great for that exact type of thing. And I like to think of like each fighter having their own different weapon specialization, and then each kind of building their worldview on which weapon they use. So like the guy that uses a hammer, he's the one that's like all about like taking it head on. And then the guy with the sword and shield is like, no, it's good to have a good buffer between you and the issue you're trying to resolve, and so on. So actually, I guess I kind of want the fighters to not only be adventurers, but to also be therapists.
Sure. Yep.
So we've got the bards that are also in a mage band. We've got the fighters that are all therapists. What else can we come up with?
The rogues that are all stockbrokers. I don't know.
Sure. I feel like druid and cleric are both probably pretty easy. Druid maybe more so, because with wild shape, you've got tanking down. Whatever tanking issue you're having, you've got it solved.
Right. Yeah. There's plenty of options with druid. Although, like, most of the druid options have never really wowed me too much.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple that are kind of neat, and like there's one that's like the one, I think it's the moon one, is the one that gives you more wild shape. That one's just so much better than all the other ones, because it's like you are the best tank you could possibly, like, you are just a bag of hit points.
Yes, you are a bag of hit points that when you run out, you can just pick up another bag of hit points.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
so I feel like the other ones are mainly meant for a group where you already have a really good tank.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you can't really compete with that type of tank. It would be neat to see a group that was clerics of all different faiths and different goals, I guess. Like if there was, conflict of the interparty variety, because each of them followed different deities, and they were all on the same quest, but they were all doing it for different reasons.
It's like they're like the joke where it's like a priest and a rabbi walk into a bar kind of a thing.
Okay.
Or it's like, a priest of Palor, a priest of the, so it's of glitter gold, and a priest of Hextor walk into a bar, and it's like,
sure.
They're just always walking into bars. Like that's what they go from tavern to tavern, spreading their word or whatever. Like, but they all travel together.
Jeff, you just came up with the mission statement of the campaign.
Sure.
You're all a bunch of clerics and you all walk into bars.
That's the joke. Yeah. I was trying to think of like what class would be the least, like what would work the worst in this scenario. I want to say ranger.
Well, so I was thinking monk.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't played a 5th edition monk long enough to know, especially to know whether the different schools or whatever whether they're viable or not, or how viable they are compared to other classes. But I do kind of feel like either ranger or monk would probably be among the worst, just because those are the classes that are already spreading themselves really thin, and they're it's hard to make a character that is really exceptional compared to other classes that are also exceptional.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even those I think would be fun to play, but as far as whether it would be effective as a full group, I don't know.
Right. I mean, because I'm thinking, well, it depends. I can't remember exactly how like the favorite terrain and stuff works like that. So like, if it was all rangers, they could be each a different terrain, and then that way you got wherever you go, you're covered somehow. Or if they were all the same terrain, then it's just like you guys dominate in that terrain. You guys are good. Whenever you're in that one terrain, like everyone's, got bonuses and moves faster and all that stuff.
And then I like to imagine that as the campaign is going on, the DM keeps putting them in situations where they're on the edge of two different terrains. And the two different rangers focusing on those terrains are fighting amongst each other to try and drag the fight into their favored terrain.
Sure, they're always on the border. Like the fights always happen on the border of like a forest and a desert or something.
They always happen to find the four corners of terrains. So I think we should fight the dragon over here, but I think we should fight the dragon over here.
We'll be at a great advantage if we use the mountains. No, we'll be at a great advantage if we use the swamps. I think
that's pretty good.
The Rangers wouldn't know where to go.
Sure. I'm going to change my vote for which would be worst. I actually think Barbarian would be the worst.
Sure.
Barbarians are great. Don't get me wrong. I love barbarians.
Yeah.
But they really, even with the different paths that you can take, they're still very laser focused on a specific thing.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah.
When you're trying to fill that one role.
Sure.
But if you're trying to fill 5 roles, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because like I haven't checked it out because it's in the newest book, which I don't even know is out yet. I think it is.
Are you talking about Tasha's?
Yeah.
Yes, a friend of mine at work got me Tasha's for my birthday.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Mike, if you are listening, thank you.
Did they put the new monk and barbarian in there? There's like a barbarian that has to do with like magic or something.
I believe that one is there. I'm not sure about the monk, though. Give me a second.
There was like some astral form monk or something like that. I'm not too sure.
Monk has Way of Mercy, Way of the Astral Self.
Yeah.
And that's it. So yes, there is.
Way of the Astral Self. And then the what was the barbarian one? It was like...
They've got Path of the Beast and Path of Wild Magic.
Yeah, Path of Wild Magic. At least what I saw in the Unearthed Arcana, which is more than likely going to be overpowered because I won't go into what like I won't go into the like I feel well all right, so I feel like sometimes when they're introducing new things they'll make it overpower on purpose so people get excited for it and then they go okay cool I'm going to buy this book. And then they buy the book and it's actually not as cool and good as it used to be in the Unearthed Arcana. And so they're like, well, I'm out $50,
Yeah, I can see that. That is very much what happened with the Warforged.
So, right. Yeah. Warforged was so cool, so cool. And then they just made it sort of flavor, they made it more flavor than anything else. Anyway, so I know the Unearthed Arcana version of the Wild Mage Barbarian, like, you can basically refresh people's spell slots or something.
Well, shoot. No,
I don't know if that's a thing they can still do, but like there was something where like they can use an ability to give people, give spellcasters their slots back, like up to a certain amount or something. I think they take damage to do it, but.
So bolstering magic is their 6th level ability. You can harness your wild magic to bolster yourself or a companion. As an action, you can touch one creature, which can be yourself, and confer one of the following benefits to that creature. For 10 minutes, the creature can roll a d3 whenever making an attack roll or an ability check, and add the number to the d20 roll. I just want to say that bonkers right there.
Wait, say that again?
Can add for one of the things is you can touch them, and then for 10 minutes they can add a d3 to their attack roll. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just. A D3, really?
Oh, a D3. Oh.
A D3, as in not a D4, a D3.
Yeah.
Why don't they put a D5 in here sometime? I would love to see a D5.
A D5, right. Well, I mean, like a D3 is you roll a D6 and...
Well, yeah, I mean, a D5 is you roll a D10 and you do the same thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
There is no D3. You cannot buy a D3 is my point.
Right.
They're putting a die in here that nobody has.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. And then another option you can do is roll a D3 again. The creature regains one expended spell slot, the level of which equals the number rolled or lower the creature's choice. Once a creature receives this benefit, they can't receive it again until a long rest. You can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all uses on a long rest. So if you're like level, I don't know, 4 or whatever, 3 times a day, you can give someone a level 3 or lower spell slot back, including yourself.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Like,
that is pretty good.
I think there were less limitations on it in the Unearthed Arcana version.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't know, but like so I was just thinking there are some interesting things to a barbarian. Does that barbarian get spell slots?
It doesn't. I mean, there isn't anything in this book. At least there isn't a chart. I think it's more if you are multi-classing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, it would be great for if you were in a party with spellcasters.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a party that is all barbarians, and we didn't make this clear. I'm assuming no multi-classing in here at all.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. As far as this question goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you allowed multi-classing, I mean, that's just a party.
Okay. So multi-classing, but everyone has to do the same multi-class. No, we're not going to go. We're not going to go. Well, if we're going to do that, then it's 2 levels of warlock and then whatever. Yeah. 2 levels of war. Yeah, it's just a warlock paladin. Like,
yeah,
the warlock paladin is like one of the strongest combinations in 3rd edition, in 5th edition.
It is. It's pretty good. So actually, I guess let's go to warlock. How do you think a group of just warlocks would do?
Pretty. I mean, they do good. They do fine, but I think it'd be kind of boring, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like it would be very boring because either everyone's doing Eldritch Blast every round, or you're using up your 2 spell slots, and then what?
Yeah, it's like it'd be a lot of short rests.
Yeah, I mean, like you can have a pretty varied group even with warlock because you can be a melee warlock. There are options to do that.
Right. Yeah, the hex blade is really good, and then there's like the celestial one does some really good healing. Mm-hmm. And then like the other ones are they're all good by their own way.
Yeah, so I think not as good as a bard party, obviously, but I think a group of warlocks would be pretty effective.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, again, I think it's like it might be on the boring side just because like you only got so many slots, and then your best attacks are all the same. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just think they'd be stopping for short rests all the time. It's like, all right, let's hang around for an hour, like. All right, you take your 5th short rest for the day.
Sure. You've taken your 23rd short rest of the day. I like to imagine similar to the clerics fighting over like the ideologies and such. I think it'd be funny if, each of the warlocks had different pacts, but not only that, let's say 2 of them were both Great Old One warlocks or something, but their pacts were with different Great Old Ones.
Sure.
And so they were
at odds.
They were the ones that fought amongst themselves the most, more than any of the others.
It's like, or like, 2 of them can have the same, patron. And so they're kind of just like, no, I'm the favorite.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, that'd be interesting. Or like, there could be something like there'd be like a side adventure where everyone's playing as their patrons fighting each other.
Oh man. You just figured it out, Jeff. That's the campaign right there.
So yeah, no. Okay, so the players are playing the patrons who are playing the characters.
Okay, so you're playing a game of D&D in a game of D&D.
Right. Yes.
Okay. What do you think about paladins? How do you think a group of just paladins would do?
I feel like that's kind of like warlock, where it might be a little less exciting, but would ultimately be really good because again, they're strong. They can heal themselves and each other. They can they can all protect each other. So like whoever has the least amount of hit points, they're getting protected or they're getting healed.
Sure,
they can cover each other really well.
I feel like this would be really interesting for like a role play heavy campaign because assuming they all have different oaths. Mm-hmm. I mean, I keep going on about having the people of different specializations fight amongst themselves, but I feel like with paladins specifically, there would be a lot of conflict arising because of the different oaths that they had.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because like one oath could be stepping over another. So it's
Yeah.
that could be interesting.
Sure.
So yeah, like I guess that's the more interesting part of the paladin one.
Yeah.
The same one with the patron one.
Yeah. I think they would be pretty effective in combat, but yeah, I would love to see them in a role-playing situation rather than combat.
Yeah.
I think the only class, I guess we haven't talked about Artificer. I was going to say the only class we haven't talked about is Sorcerer. The only base, the player's handbook class we haven't talked about is Sorcerer.
Right.
I feel like Sorcerer would be similar enough to Wizard. I mean, they wouldn't have all of the different specializations and such, but even the Sorcerer specializations are pretty good and kind of cover a variety of things.
Yeah, as there's the Celestial one where you can take cleric spells, so
Yeah.
you got some variety.
I feel like the sorcerers it would kind of be a sight to behold, a party of sorcerers all using different meta magics.
Right. Yeah.
Like each one, using meta magic to the best of their ability and such, I think could be really interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. And then like the way that sorcerers have their powers comes from their bloodline. So it's like, it could be like an interesting thing where everybody has a different bloodline.
Sure.
How did you get your magic? Where'd you get, is it on your mom's side? What is it? Like what's
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I think it'd be neat if there were two sorcerers that had like the same parent, but they were different types of sorcerers. Like, they both were born from like, maybe, so they were siblings, and maybe like their parents, one of their parents was a dragon, but so one of them became a draconic sorcerer, but then the other one became a wild magic sorcerer. Or maybe it was like a shadow dragon or something, and shadow sorcerer. I don't know.
Huh.
I'm realizing I'm much more interested in like how you would have a party of different specializations and how that would work. I'm much more interested in that than the mechanics.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. No, it'd be interesting. It'd be pretty neat.
And then as far as Artificer goes, how do you think Artificers would do? I know we, in our the Patreon game that we were running in the Eberron campaign that I was running a few months ago, we had two Artificers in the group, and both of them were the same. They were both like artillery artificers.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So but even still, they were so different in combat that I would not have realized they were the same if I didn't know they were the same,
Right. Yeah. I don't know enough about the 5th edition Artificer. Like I kind of know they added a specialization in the newest book, I think. Or maybe they added it because there's like armorer now, and I'm like, wait, isn't that what Battlesmith is?
Battlesmith is already in here, actually.
Yeah, like battle, because there was the artillerist, Battlesmith.
Yeah.
And then maybe was it just those two?
There was alchemist, artillerist, and battlesmith, and they added armorer. Yeah,
and they added armorer, which makes me mad because they had a fourth one. They originally had a fourth one in Unearthed Arcana, and it was really interesting. Like it was very interesting. It was called the archivist, like the archivist or something.
Oh, right.
And it was all about like the storing knowledge and stuff like that. Because like they were basing the different specs on the different aspects of building a Warforged. Because in Eberron, it was the artificers that made, artificers are those who make the magic stuff.
Yeah.
And so like one of them was like, okay, the battlesmith. So that's actually like all like the armor and weapons of the like the body and weapons of the Warforged. And then there was the alchemist. So that's like their inner workings. So like, like Warforged kind of have like an alchemical, like circulatory system in a way.
Right.
And so like, that's kind of like their internals. And then you had the artillerists. So that was more like their, how they're able to do like how Warforged are able to do magic and firepower and stuff. And then they had the archivist, which was more like the actual brain or the AI kind of the Warforged. So like each spec kind of explained a different aspect of Warforged. And then they just took the archivist out. And I was like, that was the coolest one. It was, I don't know how viable it was, or maybe it was easily exploitable or something, but there was something about it that was like really interesting. And it's gone. And then they've gone and added armorer, which I'm like, well, isn't that what Battlesmith just like
Yeah.
by name alone, they seem like they're gonna be the same thing.
Yeah, it's definitely similar enough thematically
Yeah,
that it feels like a copy before you've even read what the abilities are.
right. Which I mean, like they could be completely different, but I mean, like
Yeah.
it's just like, ugh. Bring
Yeah, I
back
don't
the
know.
one that was interesting, not the one that sounds the same as the other one.
Sure. But I guess as far as like making a whole party of artificers, I think because artificers are so much about creating additional things to make themselves more unique, I think artificer would probably be perfectly fine.
Yeah, because they can only make like so many items, they have so many items active, but like between 5 of them, they're going to be able to make everything and anything, and like it's like if you need something, somebody's going to be able to have it. So
Sure. And we talked about fighter earlier, and I mainly talked about the 4th edition fighter. In 5th edition, I don't think the fighter would be quite as good. I mean, they would, similar to the barbarian, they're good at a thing that they're trying to do. They're good at combat.
mm-hmm.
But it's really hard to make. There isn't really a good way to make a fighter that has any kind of additional healing.
Right.
You can make an Eldritch Knight that has a little bit of magic capability. I don't know. I mean, there's some newer fighter archetypes that I think would probably help mitigate damage as well. But I don't know. I feel like fighter would be kind of lackluster in 5th edition as a full party.
Yeah. I mean, it's like for a campaign, you could probably make it interesting. Like everybody's in like you're all slaves in like a gladiatory arena sort of situation. So
Sure.
like you are more mundane, but there's a reason for it because it's just sort of part of the story. Is like you're all kind of stuck there. So
yeah,
you just kind of have to fight your way out.
If the campaign was built around the idea that everybody is this particular class,
yeah,
then I'm sure the fighter could be good. But I think in just a generic campaign, it would probably start to really show its gaps pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I think this was a really fun question. I don't know if Joe S. intended for us to really get quite as into it as we did. But I think that's a much better way to use this as a discussion prompt instead of just being like, Bard, next question.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, definitely Bard, but it's really like whatever sounds the most fun. If everybody's into one class and be like, hey, what if we all did a one class and just did different specs and like there could be some interesting role playing involved with any of those.
I would 100% be down to play in a campaign like that, regardless of class. I would love to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that this does make me think of is in the Final Fantasy games, in several of them, not all of them, but in several of them, you can choose what classes your characters are. And so there are people who have set up challenge runs where they play through the game using entirely one class.
Yeah.
One game that really comes to mind is is Final Fantasy Tactics, because it is so like you can customize your classes so much and you can get unique abilities to each class and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I've read guides. I've never done a single class challenge for a game like that, but I've read guides about them. And the thing about doing that is that it's very difficult because the game is not intended for you to play with just one class. It usually intends for you to swap in and out of different classes. But when you play the entire game using just one class, you really learn the ins and outs of that class. If there's a class that has, some minor little ability off on the side that you never thought you would have used, suddenly there comes a time where you have to use that ability.
Right.
Because you have no other abilities to pull from.
Yeah, there's nothing else for you to do in some situations.
Yeah. So like you really have to dig down to the bottom of the barrel and use everything at your disposal. And that's what I really like about it. I love it as an experiment to say, hey, let's go through let's do this campaign where everyone is a monk or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love the idea of that. So listeners, hopefully you will come out of this with that same attitude. Go play in a campaign with just one class. See what happens.
Yeah.
All right. I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today, but we do still have our social media questions. Our last social media question was, if you could give out awards to your group for various accomplishments in tabletop gaming, what sort of categories would there be? By any chance, did you have any off the top of your head?
I feel like I would have gotten the poor attendance award
Okay.
in a few groups, a few
Yeah.
times that we played. I was always late.
Sure.
And a lot of the times, like when we played a long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't really come up with very many that weren't already said by some of the people in the comments.
Yeah.
The one that I put as the photo for this is ready at the start of your turn.
Oh, right.
Because that's rare that it's that it's an achievement.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a lot of responses. Like several people just posted a whole bunch of them. To start us off, Adam B says, achievement unlocked. Didn't become distracted. Congratulations. You managed to concentrate on something for more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Ryan P says, an achievement for party sticking to the story exactly as written without the DM railroading. Rarest achievement ever.
Right. Yep.
Over on Reddit, Alstar the Minotaur says, the punniest. Make it an in-character joke or pun that causes the DM to facepalm so hard that the game grinds to a halt momentarily. Yeah. And then he adds, I love putting puns and silliness in my games, but when my players manage to do a pun so bad they break the DM, it always makes me so happy. The most recent example was my newest player's character introduction. Umtwala was a deposed Nigerian king, much like the scam emails of the 90s, and I have to interject, and the 2000s and the 2010s. And probably the 2020s, who believes he's enlisting the party in retaking his throne. None of this was discussed with me and came as a wonderful, silly surprise. So he played as the Nigerian king, which is pretty good. Over on Twitter, we just got one. Jason E says, smash, inflict damage equal to double an enemy's HP total in a single hit. That's a pretty good one.
Dang.
Sweet talker, circumvent an encounter without resorting to combat. Pyromaniac, solve a problem with fireball when it is completely unnecessary.
I feel like that's an easy one to get.
Yes, it is. Untouchable, win a boss encounter without taking a single hit. I saw this meme recently that says, there is no I in team. However, there are 6 I's in F it. I don't care how big the room is. I cast fireball. Thought that was funny. And then over on Discord, we got a whole bunch. So Dustin says, pun tax, made a groan-worthy pun. RP Master, stayed in character the whole game. Help action, helped a new player. Lost your marbles, forgot your dice, again. E. Thompson 03, and I'm going to censor a word in here. The golden jerk, for the player that's always throwing the unexpected wrench in my plans. An award for the person who sticks to their role without deviating, looking at most of you paladins out there. An award for the person who had 30 minutes to think but still didn't know what they wanted to do on their turn. Yep, that's accurate. Stiltskin Koopo 84 says, Court Jester, an achievement for the person who most often makes the DM laugh legitimately. Best Note Taker, the one member of the party who remembers what they were doing and where they were going. Area of Effect, to the player who can successfully cast splash damage spells without targeting any of the PCs. Matthew N says, first kill for those bloodthirsty new players. No kill for the first successful negotiation which didn't end in killing anyone. Staying true to your flaw for any player who does something detrimental to themselves because they are role-playing their flaws. That one is called Inspiration.
Yeah.
The prep player, any player who takes time to study the rules or how their character's abilities work. And any achievements which encourage players to roleplay more, particularly if it includes helping new players. Autumn Wind says, best in show to the player who does the best performance, most likely to a player who actually sings in character. Peacemaker, best non-violent solution to an encounter that was most likely to end in violence. It's what my character would do, to the player who acts against the urge to metagame and acts as their character would, rather than what is objectively the best move. I thought that was going somewhere else, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Debrasor says, seduce the dragon, successfully RP'd yourself out of a boss encounter. The enemies of my allies are my friends, successfully recruited an enemy to your cause. Leap of faith, survived a fall over 100 feet. A bed and bath in the beyond, made camp or a new base in another plane. That's a good one. Right there. Who needs a map anyway? Completed a tactical fight with minis without a map or grid. That's interesting. Killed God. Defeated a supreme being which has no stat block. Somehow. Season pass. Finish a campaign that has lasted longer than a year, both in and out of game. Alt-itis. Change characters 3 or more times in a single campaign.
Oh, I could do that one.
I am the party. Multi-class 3 or more times with the same character.
I could do that.
That's a good one. Master of Rules. As a DM, complete a session without ever having to reference source material. Okay. That was pretty good. Stilton Kupu 84 chimed back in with crit thyself to the character who kills themselves with their own weapon by rolling natural ones the most.
Oh, no.
Dr. Taco 86 says the Booger Eater, awarded to the player most likely to not take notes. They often forget the town name, party objective, or action economy. Joe S says, not exactly an achievement, but I always run a kill counter in my games. Usually don't let people know the score until several sessions in. Then people try crazy stuff to get the final shots on bosses. Beginning of the fight, all cantrips and normal attacks. Once I say bloodied, disintegration, power word kill, super smite from the paladin, etc. Just a couple more, I think. Dustin says, again, Goodberry brought the snacks. Toothy Maw ate the snacks without pitching in. Floofy Shoob says, Amber making it through the entire gaming session without rolling any dice. And that's the last one. So yeah, I think there were some really good ones in there. Good job, everybody. That's kind of exactly what I was hoping for.
Right. Yeah.
So that was our last social media question. Our next social media question is, if you had to make an entire adventuring party out of one class, what class would you choose? So going with the question earlier, listeners, which one would you pick? You know, if you had to pick which, let's just say one, just pick one. So right. Jeff, if you had to pick just one, which one would you pick?
I think I want to start a band.
Okay, with the bards.
Yeah.
Okay. Bards is of course, like I said earlier, is the easy answer, but I really want to do the warlock one.
Sure.
I think that sounded like so much fun. So I would really like to
patrons.
See how that, yeah. So yeah, listeners, I'm hopefully you've listened to what we said earlier and gotten some ideas for how you could do this. So I'm curious to see what people have to say. So that'll do it for our questions for today. Before we close out though, let's wind down. Let's relax. Let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us, who have given their lives so that we may have a better world to live in, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. Today's funeral pyre was submitted by Peace-Joy Pancakes on Discord. This is a sequel to when Peace-Joy Pancakes submitted Sir Perrin's heroic death a while ago. But this one is for Sir Harris, Sir Barley, and the Squire Star. They made their way into a magical forest to investigate and, if possible, exterminate some evil fey goblins that raided the countryside. When they finally discovered the goblins' camp, the goblins just dragged a captured peasant toward the fire to eat it. Sir Harris and Sir Barley rushed in. Star followed reluctantly. The king of the fey goblins grew larger than a tree and squashed Sir Harris. Sir Barley and Star soon followed. This TBK ended the Salisbury Lads era. So yeah, I guess let's raise a glass in memory of Sir Harris, Sir Barley, and Squire Star as we toast to the Salisbury Lads who got crushed into steak.
Clink.
All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. You can join the discussion on social media. We are on Facebook, we're on Reddit, we're on Interparty Discord, we're on Twitter @InPartyConflict. Check those out for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We have a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, will go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. And Jeff, tell me about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can watch us play video games, or you can come hang out with me on twitch.tv/tiltedturtle and watch me play games live.
There you go. And you can also head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hackers RPG. So, Jeff, until next time...
What if it was a party of 5 DMs?